And Jordan, the time has come to talk about the spread, talk about the score prediction. The spread opened up at 20.5 in favor of our Clemson Tigers. It is now at 20 even, so there's no hook on there. And then the over-under is at 60.5. So what are your thoughts on the over-under and that spread?
What was the total again?
Total was 60.5.
60.5.
Yeah.
Well, I do know that Wake Forest has gone. Wake Forest's games have gone over, I think in 4 of their 5 games, and I think I'm going to pick it here. I'm going to take the over, and I'm going to take Clemson to cover. I think 20 and a half. I think Clemson can win this game by 3 or more scores. Yeah, like Clemson here. I'm going to say 48-20. I'm going to give Wake Forest 20 because I do think they offensively they do have some weapons and they'll give you some issues on the back end a little bit, but not to the point where they're consistently putting together drives and hitting explosive plays. But I think they'll get some. But I like 48-20. I was tempted to go into the 50s, but that's even this defense is not very good, and they easily could hit the 50s. But I'm gonna be a little conservative here, and say 48-20. Clemson covers and take the over.
All right, sounds good. I will take the over as well. I think this game goes over 60. I think Clemson covers. I'll go 45-17. The Clemson Tigers put it on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, and maybe get to throw some backups in there and see if we can get some young guys some more reps. I think the Tigers win big. I think we pull away early. I just don't see this Wake Forest defense really being able to stop the Clemson Tigers offense, and I think our defense will do enough at least early on when the first stringers are in there for us to get quite a bit of separation early in this game.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, last segment of the night before we turn it over to the comment section. BYOG or sell, the fan favorite one right here. So, Jordan, I'll go ahead and kick it off tonight. BYOG or sell, Maffa will go over 150 yards for the second week in a row.
I'm going to sell. I do think he gets over 100. I think you're going to run the ball a good clip. But I feel like it's going to be one of those games where you kind of you get things going quicker and you're not giving him as much run. He had 25 carries this past week. I don't expect him to get that much. So sell, but would not be upset to see him go over that.
I'd be excited to see him go over it. Maybe add a couple touchdowns to it as well.
Yeah. But he's kind of lacking on the rushing touch. He only has 2 on the year. He has the yardage. But
he's only got 2. But I'll sell on that as well. I think this game's probably going to get away from Wake Forest quickly, so I don't think Maffa will get, to your point, the carries that he would need to hit that number.
Absolutely. BYOG or sell. Clemson has their highest sack total on the year. Which I think what's the 3, most they've had? Yeah,
I think 3.
So I think 3 is the most they've had this year. So 4 or more.
I'll buy. Wake Forest has given up a lot of sacks. 13 on the season. That's quite a bit of sacks. So I think our defense can get more than that.
I'm a buy as well. BYOG. All right. Oh, it's your turn.
All right. Let's see. I'll go a Cade Klubnik stat. BYOG or sell, Cade Klubnik will have 3+ passing touchdowns in the game on Saturday.
BYOG. I think they're going to want to take their shots. This secondary for Wake Forest has been poor all year. Every team they've played, whether it was Ole Miss, Louisiana, Virginia, they were all able to hit big plays in the passing game. So yeah, I'll say BYOG. Let me see. I had one and I lost it. I think it has. Oh, it was Tyler Brown. We're finally gonna see a multi catch performance from Tyler Brown in this game.
I will buy. I think he got a little bit of run last week. Not very much opportunity, but he got a little run last week. I think his ankle's probably feeling a little bit better. They're working him in slowly. I think Wake Forest could be, maybe a somewhat of a 2024 coming out party for Tyler Brown. I think it's got the potential coming off of injury.
I will say BYOG as well. I think that's. I need it. I need it just to see it because we've seen everybody else get some love at least somewhat this year, and Tyler Brown is just kind of. I mean, just with the injuries, he has not been able to get going.
Yeah.
So I really want to see it.
All right, let's take a couple BYOG ourselves from the comment section, and then we'll flip it over and do regular comments and questions after that.
Yep, let's do it. Tiggs with BYOG or sell. Clemson has 2 wide receivers go over 100 yards receiving. That's a good one. I'm going to sell. We have not seen the volume for anybody this year for one person to get over 100 unless they have an explosive play. Have we had a? I think Brian Wesco is the only. Well, no. Who has had an 100-yard receiving game? Well, no. Antonio Williams did against NC State, didn't he?
I know for sure Brian Wesco's
had 2.
Let me see.
I think Antonio Williams had one against I believe it was NC State. And I think Jake Brenningstool has had one. Was that against App? I think it was against App.
Let me see. He did have exactly 100 yards, 7 catches, 100 yards against App State.
Okay. I typically have good memory about this stuff. So we've had 3 different receivers hit 100 yards, but none of them in the same game, right?
So,
Bryant Wesco had 100 plus in the App State game, as well.
Wesco, let's see what he's got. He's got 200-yard games, 130 against App State, 104 against Stanford. So we did have 2 receivers go over 100 yards against App State.
Yeah, I believe that's the only game.
Hit 100 yards, yeah.
Yeah.
Are those the only 2 receivers that hit 100 yards? Brian Wesco and Jake Brenningstool?
I think Antonio Williams had an 100-yard game against NC State. Check. I think he got over 100 against NC State.
No,
he didn't.
His closest one was last week against FSU. He had 84.
Oh man! Wow. Yeah. I thought he had one in a 100-yard game. I guess not.
Nope. Maybe this is his 100-yard game.
Yeah, hopefully. So yeah, well, man, if Antonio isn't one of them, isn't going to be one of them, then I don't even. Yeah, I can't see it.
I think we've only had 2 receivers go over 100 yards this season. Brian Wesco twice, and then Jake Brenningstool once.
Okay, well, dang, yep. So I was still probably going to sell anyway, but yeah, that's kind of surprising because Antonio, he's been your most consistent guy, but he just has not.
He is, yeah. He's not quite getting to that 100. He had 70 something against Georgia, 80 something against Florida State. Those were kind of his 2 best games so far this season. Yeah. we'll see if he can get over 100 yards this season. But yeah, that surprises me because I did think that Antonio Williams had a 100-yard game this season, but
Yeah,
he does not.
I'd like that to change. David BYOG or sell. He says Hampton will have an INT. Ooh. I'm gonna sell. I mean, just because specifically Hampton, because and one Hank Bachmeier has been pretty good at taking care of the football. He's only thrown 2 picks on the year. I don't know. I just it's so. I mean, a guy that doesn't throw a lot of picks, and then you're asking me to pick one specific player to get that pick if he gets one. Yeah, I think I have to sell just on principle. But
yeah, I'll sell on that. But I do think the defense probably gets a pick in this game.
Yeah, I think they'll get it. Yeah,
I just don't know if it's Ashton Hampton that gets it, but one of those guys back there will get it. Maybe Terrell, maybe Ashton Hampton. I don't know. Could be one of the safeties. Who knows?
Yep. Jay with a BYOG or sell. The Clemson defense plays a full game for the first time this season. Well, depends on what you mean by full game, because I don't know.
I'm a sell because I don't think the ones play probably the fourth quarter at least. So, but if by a complete game you mean, we don't show any signs of some lazy play that we've seen out of the defense this year, I'm still going to sell because I think they will show that at times in this game, especially if Clemson gets up big. It's something that Clemson's defense has put on tape consistently this year. And until they prove me wrong, I'm going to say that they'll show some of that lazy play.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of like it depends on what you mean by a complete. Because I mean, I think technically you played a complete game against Florida State. I mean, you gave up 250 yards, 3.9 yards per play. They didn't, only 13 points. I mean, that's a good on the surface, like objectively speaking, that's a pretty strong defensive showing.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Obviously, they're beyond the stats. There were some were some lapses.
But even that last drive that Florida State was on, yes, the game was over. Did it matter? Did those 50-plus yards they had on that last drive matter? No. But you still saw some of that, like, just lackadaisical, not finishing plays, the shit. And I know
watching the guy make the catch, scramble up, and you fight for another. That's just
it's just like, what are we doing, man? Like, and I know the game's over, and you're nitpicking, and in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But like, that's just like Clemson's defense has kind of showed that, far too often this year. So